what are the laws of health, so that we are studying. So yesterday we were studying about the word simple acceptance of a condition. Acceptance of a condition which seems at present unavoidable. That is one, the attitude of acceptance that we have studied. And also we have studied about the physical limitations. And how to handle the condition of the illness, that is also given. How we have to handle when you have a sick condition, when you are sick, when you have a sickness, when you have fallen ill, how to handle this, that is the next thing. Where there is sickness, then you can write, I will explain. So where there is sickness, what is told here is, what we have to keep is, first is peace. We must try to keep peaceful in our mind. Unrest, if there is unrest, that will increase the sickness. Because already sickness is the result of a disturbance at the mental level. So if you keep peaceful first of all, then you can handle the situation. Otherwise, it will become much more worse. So peace, and also keep quietness and silence are necessary for healing. These three things: peace, quietness, and silence. You have to keep peace, you have to keep quiet, and keep silent. Because the most important thing which can heal us is the peace. That can bring order once again. It is just like among the nations also, among the countries. If there is war, then it is all sickness. So we have to again establish peace. That is the only way. Until you establish peace, you are always suffering. When there is a war, there is suffering of the whole humanity, not one person. So in the same manner, our inside us also, sickness is like a situation of like a war, similar to war. So we have to make an effort to establish peace. Same thing also about healing when we have sickness. So peace and quietness, that is also important. That is why when some person is sick, very much sick, even physically also, generally they keep the person in such places like, which is called a sanatorium. Of course, the present sanatoriums are commercial, that is of no use, but real sanatoriums, where the patient can live quiet. And then silence is not just only physical silence, but mental silence. Unrest is on mental level. So mental silence is to be practiced. Otherwise, if you continue to be anxious, you cannot be healed. So mental silence is to be practiced, and for that what you have to do is, you have to, for some period, you keep away from all these transactions, because if you are able to keep peaceful in all the transactions, you will not fall sick. That is quite. When you are continuing your daily life with all the transactions, but yet you can keep yourself peaceful and balanced with your relations and other things, then automatically there is no need specially for you to go anywhere else. But since we are not able to handle these things, since we have fallen sick, then it is required that for a period of time you keep away from the normal routine, so that it will be possible for you to maintain mental silence first and then physical silence. You can speak. If you can keep mental silence, then necessarily if you have to speak, that is also silence only. That is not breaking the silence. So in our evening invocation there is a sentence, may we speak the silence without breaking it. What is this speaking silence? In the beginning it appears contradictory. When you speak, how can you be silent? So you can be silent even when you are speaking. That means your mind, if it is balanced, then even if you are speaking to other person, still you can keep silent. So may we speak the silence without breaking it. That is one sentence what we utter every evening in our invocation. A constant state of inner rebellion, where there is sickness, peace, quiet and silence are necessary. This refers not only to physical conditions but to the emotional and mental states of the patient, as well as those who are present with the patient. Not only patient, but those who are around the patient also. Suppose there is a patient suffering, and the people around the patient are in great unrest mentally, then the patient cannot be healed. Because if he is in the presence of such people who are mentally at unrest, there is no use. So this refers not only to physical condition but to the emotional and mental states of the patient, as well as those who are present near the patient. This is not always easy to attain. It is not always easy to attain. Illness that affects the physical body does the least harm. See, this is what we have to very clearly understand. The illness that affects the physical body is less harmful than the illness which affects the emotion and the mind of the person. That brings more damage. Yeah, the healing process is hindered if it is on the emotional and mental level. Where it works out in an emotional or mental condition, it is apt to become a problem to others, and adding to their strain and necessitating an effort upon their part to carry the sufferer through. Let it not be forgotten that the physical, emotional and mental nature constitute one mechanism. This is always the fundamental understanding which we should have. That is what is explained in these sciences like Ayurveda, homeopathy, naturopathy. In these sciences, What is the triangle? There is a triangle. Physical, mental, and emotional. It is a trio. So all these three belong to one mechanism. And when a person is sick, it is difficult to preserve his equanimity and balance, because it is the real disease is the fear about the disease. That is the real disease. This is difficult to be understood in normal medical approach. The body, there is pain and suffering, but this is only a manifestation of a disturbance on the emotional and mental level. This is to be understood. Illness is sustained and increased by constant dwelling upon it. This is most important. Dwelling. Constantly, if you dwell in your mind on the sickness, about the sickness, constant dwelling. Constant dwelling means mentally and emotionally. Constant dwelling on sickness. That means thinking constantly. About sickness. This will enable the sickness to increase more. When you start thinking that you have some sickness, so constantly if you keep on thinking that you have some sickness, I have some sickness, maybe I have a heart problem, maybe I'm getting cancer, like this. Constantly if your mind is engaged with this thought, then you will lead into that condition. That is the secret. Because you are mentally making such a proposal. Yes. Yes. When you do not dwell, when you can practice, because this is to be practiced before, not when once you got into sickness and then you start practicing this, that is not possible. So that is why these are the things which are to be practiced when you are healthy. When you are normal life, if you could practice, then it will be possible for you not to dwell in the sickness. The sickness will be there for the body may get some sort of problem, but then also if you dwell upon it, then it increases the problem and never you can get a solution. That is difficult to heal such a person. Our Ramakotaya, the old healer, he always used to tell that don't meditate upon your disease, my dear fellow. You meditate upon master or you meditate upon higher force. If you keep on meditating upon the disease, then nobody can heal you. That is what he used to tell. Yeah. So you have to direct the mind, divert the mind and direct the mind towards a higher thing. I'll give you an example. My grandfather, Dr. Anantacharya, father of Master E.K., he was also a great healer and an Ayurvedic doctor and healer. He used to apply such methods. There was once a patient suffering from ulcer in the lung. There was ulcer inside the lung, pulmonary ulcer. And doctors examined this case. They applied antibiotics but could not solve. In spite of giving antibiotics, this ulcer was increasing and the patient was suffering. And those allopathic doctors, they knew my grandfather. When they have some very difficult case, when they found it was impossible, then they used to refer such cases to him because they know he has special method. So therefore, they told the patient, you please meet Anantacharya because we cannot solve your problem because it is increasing. So then what my grandfather did was, they were expecting that he will give some medicine immediately. His treatment was very special and peculiar. He never applied any medicine immediately. So he said, okay, I will treat you, but you follow my instruction. I know when to give a medicine, don't be in a hurry. Already many medicines were given to you by those doctors. If I also put some medicines to you, it makes no sense. So he selected some very special classical music and he made the patient lie down, and he made the patient to lie in a position legs up and head to a little bit down, and he started to play the discs of this special selected music, and he was sitting by the side of the patient and giving his healing energy, invoking, and made the patient to listen to the music. Because till that time, all the time the patient was dwelling about his disease and all his suffering. And these doctors are giving only medicine, they could not do anything for this, and also family members, friends and all this, visiting them and increasing his problem. This is that mentally he is getting more sick. And the doctors told him that you cannot be cured, you will die like this. That is what the allopathic doctors do generally. They directly tell to the patient that you have such disease and you will die. Like shooting. Because already you give such a suggestion to the mind of the patient, how can he be healed? So then, therefore, he told the patient, you don't worry, you will recover. You listen to this music. And then slowly he started this music playing. It's very like a flute and some very fine classical music, vocal music and this. And then till that time he was having pain and he could not sleep. When once he started this, he got relaxed and started to relax, not feeling pain. And after 24 hours, then this ulcer inside, which is there since, and then it started to ooze, and this oozing came out through the mouth, and he collected all this to go out. It took 2 or 3 days more, and gradually the patient started to get betterment. The pain and the suffering is reduced, not given any medicine. He was just meditating and just put him on the music. And after 3-4 days, then the patient felt very very well, because the ulcer it has gone out with all the oozing. Because the mind of the patient is so much relaxed. And then he prepared some Ayurvedic tonic and gave it to him for quick recovery. And after 1 week, the patient was normal. And he told these doctors, now you make examination, investigation. They made investigation, there is no ulcer. Finished. His method of healing was very special. Special means it is original, natural. And his diagnosis was also very special. He never depended upon the laboratory investigation, all this, never. He used to speak with the patient, look at the patient, and he could feel, in himself he could feel where the suffering is in the patient. And he knew. So these doctors, the big doctors of this area, they know that this is a special man. So wherever there is a case which was impossible for them, they used to refer to him. In those days, it was between 1930 and 50s, in this 20 to 25 years period, when my father was a young boy. You know, my father, when he was a little child, of few months child, he got the attack of pneumonia in both the lungs, very severe, very acute, and he could not breathe because both the lungs are full with this liquid. And the other family members and the friends and all, they say, what he will do with your son now? Take him to the hospital. I said, no, I will not take my son to the hospital. They cannot solve this problem, he said. But what will you do? I know how to heal him. He said, he was very courageous also. He was a very courageous person. He was never, mentally he was so balanced. So he called for a person who can catch snakes. So he said, bring a cobra, a snake. So the person brought a cobra. He has given a glass plate to this fellow and said, you make the cobra drop the poison on this, and so a few drops of this poison, he took it from the cobra, and with a very minute, some stick, he just took this, opened the mouth of the child, and he knew how to place this very precisely, and how to, and with this he put just that much enough juice on the tongue, and everybody said, you are foolish fellow, you are killing your boy. He said, I know. This was in the night, and by morning all the liquids in the lung was thrown out and the child survived. That is our Master E.K. So he could do this because he never said, oh, my son is suffering. It's not my son, it is a person suffering, we have to heal him. Whether it be his son or other's child, so for him it is the same. So that is his level of consciousness. So that is why he could heal. If he is emotional about the sickness of his son, he will fail. Same thing we found with Master E.K. also. He never felt emotional or afraid when his children are also sick. Master E.K. started this homeopathic healing, started for his son first, my brother, and then extended this for the whole of humanity. So therefore, it is very important. Constant dwelling on sickness increases the sickness. That is the secret. So we have to make the patient in a very peaceful atmosphere and forget about the disease and divert the mind and then you can do this work. So for yourself also, if you want to be healed, you should train yourselves not to dwell mentally about the sickness. If you have fear about the sickness, you cannot be healed. First of all, we have to eliminate the fear. So that is also possible with homeopathy. That is what in many cases we see. In some cases there is intense fear. That is one of the symptoms in some of the remedies. We can identify this. So irrespective of the disease, we take these symptoms into consideration and select a remedy which can act on these mental symptoms, this fear and anguish and all these things, and then the person is cured, whatever may be the disease. That is the approach of homeopathy. In homeopathy, we are not concerned about the name of the disease. We are not concerned about what the diagnosis given by the allopathic, basing on the laboratory tests and all these things. We are not concerned. We are concerned about how the patient feels. What is the mental condition of the patient? What is the emotional condition of the patient? That is how we make an approach in homeopathy. Otherwise, you cannot do it. You have to eliminate this anguish, this fear. It is very surprising if you know this, how immediately it works. If you make such an approach. There is a wrong conception in the minds of people that homeopathy will work very slowly, therefore in acute conditions we cannot use homeopathy. That is wrong. A constant consideration of any of the bodily functions leads to difficulty. Because if you see, oh, my heart, suppose you get some palpitation, immediately you start thinking, what is happening to my heart? The more you start thinking, the more the palpitation will increase. So this is not always easy to attain. Illness that affects the physical body does the least harm. Where it works out the emotional or mental condition, it is then apt to become a problem to others. So this is always to be remembered. And then chronic invalids are frequently so because of their preoccupation with the body over a long period of time. Some persons who are sick and invalid on chronic conditions, that means for a long time, why they are so, that is also explained here. It is because over a long period of time they have a preoccupation about their body and suffering. That is the problem. For long years. There are some persons really, because we have so many cases which we have seen how our master used to heal. And there was a person who was working in a big industry, and this person, he started to develop such a mental condition. He started to feel that he has something in the brain, like a clot or a tumor like that. So he went to the doctors. They made all the radiography and the ultrasound. Nothing is there. Absolutely nothing is there. Then the doctor said, you have to go to psychiatrist, because you don't that is another disaster. All the psychiatric medicine is a big disaster. It is only to calm you up with the sedation. That is of no use. So this man came to master, and he told him that all the investigation, they say that I have nothing, but I know that I am having some big blockage in my brain. I am going to die, because here is like that, here is like. Master listened to him. Such persons will explain more and more and more for a long time.